Welcome back to Hair Smarter. If you listened to part one, you already know this conversation got real fast.
Yeah, and honestly, we knew when we were recording it that there was no way that this was fitting into one episode.
No, not a chance. And part two is where we go even deeper.
In the first episode, we talked about what mentorship looks like, the impact it has on your technical growth, your confidence, and your perspective behind the chair.
Yeah, but in this episode, we're actually talking about the parts that people don't always say out loud.
Like what happens when mentorship challenges your ego.
Uh-oh. Or when you realize you're stepping into the role of a mentor yourself, and that responsibility hits differently, right? Because mentorship isn't about creating little versions of yourself,
It's about helping someone sharpen their thinking
helping them build discernment.
and helping them trust their own eye.
And if you're serious about working smarter, not just busier, this is the kind of conversation that matters.
So if you're ready to get uncomfortable in the best way,
Let's get into part two. Well, let's talk about the hard part of mentorship.
so Mark, as an educator, what's the hardest truth you've had to tell somebody who wanted to grow?
Yeah, this question brought up fierce conversations, which I'm sure we're all traumatized by, but yet it had
Mhm.
great value, right? Did you all take that class?
Yeah, can you
Fierce
just explain it a
conversations?
little bit for our
Yeah,
listeners?
because that was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago, and I don't even know if I can explain it properly, having not kept up with it. It's
You're
essentially-
like, be mean.
yeah. So that's the funny thing about it, right? Because I learned from that, which was no surprise. I'm non-confrontational, right? And like all this stuff is dug up from your childhood, and why you are the way you are is hugely because of that or whatever. But for whatever reason, that was my skill set, and I think that's why Connie liked me in the apprenticeship role, right?
Mm.
Because I wasn't that individual that was an asshole, right? I was a little more welcoming, and that's what's so important about an apprenticeship. I feel safe space. You all talked about that in your last podcast.
Mm.
The safe space is huge for these kids. I want to call them kids. They're young adults, right? There's a moment a 30-year-old shouldn't be called a kid,
Right.
but yeah. So it's just creating that positive environment. The problems that arise, you talk about the truths that you have to tell somebody. A lot of times it's just being gentle in your approach, and strengths and weaknesses, we all have them, right? And the weaknesses you have to address. Be gentle in your approach. I find works best. Again, that's my non-confrontational approach to all this. But I use this sandwich approach all the time, right? Start with something they're doing great, and then work on what's not going so well, and then
Yeah.
finish strong. I always found that to work well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you find
And over time, these things work out. I feel they work themselves out. And if it's a real problem,
Yeah.
I think they truly work themselves out and they leave, right?
Totally.
Right.
Totally.
Mm.
Do you find that like most students kind of know deep down?
It's self-awareness, right?
I think most people really know.
Mm.
I
Don't
question
you
that.
think you really know if you can make it or not? You know what I mean? But if
Yeah.
you're in that situation, you're like, okay, I have to do more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To get there. I think that's a lot of self-awareness.
I think that's a little more challenging these days, self-awareness, something we've always dealt with, of course, but there's no doubt.
Social media makes it
Right.
so much
Oh,
worse. Oh my God. The
so
performance on
horrible.
there is insane.
The challenges I've
Yeah.
had are just what we're talking about. They come in, they see these amazing, Insta famous, whatever, doing this great work. And I think it's going to be easy. And then, they're a creative person. And why is this so hard? And they have a hard time hacking it. I've definitely been dealing that. I feel a little bit more than I was 20 years ago
Yeah.
when I first started.
Yeah.
It's a challenge.
I
Sure.
think that same thing is when you get into that real frustration and you think that you're not going to make it, that's almost like the light at the end of the tunnel is turning on.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? Like, I always feel like when you're like so fresh, I'm about to quit. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I got that haircut,
Yeah.
and the light turns on. I think that's, I don't know.
I think it's like you're shedding your ego a little bit, right? Like you're
Yes.
like, ugh, and
Letting
then
yourself go to learn.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Which
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, we've all been mentored in some
Yeah.
way, and receiving hard feedback sucks. It does.
Yes.
But I think each of us, in whatever way we've done that, has learned how to say, okay, my feeling about this is I'm like frustrated, but let me put that aside. What I'm
Mm.
hearing is I need to work on this and let me just dig in and do it. And I feel like those are the students that honestly grow faster. They're
Right.
ready to move. I feel like the first year of an apprenticeship is like just shedding all but I know,
So true.
So true. Because it's breaking down everything that you think you already
Right.
know.
Yeah.
And I think that is the biggest challenge for everybody
Well, hit on.
because you're allowing yourself to be vulnerable.
That's exactly it, the
Right.
vulnerability part of it, and
Yeah.
without a doubt, that first year is a transition. I have people that waste the first 6 months. It's honestly not uncommon, just to get into the groove of things, and it takes
Right.
6 months, and I'm in a situation where we can be patient in that sense.
Right.
Sometimes you see that positive outcome, so you kinda just let it happen, but there's a point that you're like, "Alright, we gotta get this shit going on, right? We
Right.
we gotta start moving," but yeah, it's a challenge without a doubt. Also, towards the end, as you mentioned, they start having these freak out moments, or I got to make money, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I gotta get
Yeah.
going, and you're just trying to like, come on, hold on. We just a
That's right.
few more months, you can kind of pull this together.
That's right. That's
No
right.
doubt, a challenge.
And like I 100% agree. Being an assistant, making the money that you're making sucks. It does.
Yeah.
And it's brutal. And you're like, how am
Yeah.
I going to do this? Do I need a second job? But the
Right.
education you get, if you can be patient and actually
That is the
focus on it.
hardest, right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's just going to boost you for the rest of your
Yeah.
career.
Right.
And coming
Right.
to it open to learning, right? Like
Mm.
Mark said, like wasting 6 months, just like breaking down the barriers and the ego and all the things. It's so much
Right.
wasted time.
And then sometimes it's necessary. I have multiple kids in their early 20s, and
Right.
my kids are at that age now, and it's sometimes wild to put that together, but this is that growing process. We all, I'm sure in ways, grew up at Bumble, and I always
Yes.
reflect back to that. These kids are too. This is where you're so relevant in their life and their future, and I hope more of them remember architectural stuff that I'm not ranting on too much about, but
It's
it's great.
awesome.
Oh, so good.
That's what I love that in that Bumble. We always had so many different references of life to art to anything around us. Each individual that who we worked with, it was just so incredible.
We still do museum trips.
Incredible.
Oh, so nice.
You got to do the boat tour around the Central Park.
That could be a
Oh,
I used to do that with my styling class.
That's right. I remember that. That's so funny.
that's just because you wanted to go on the little boat. Don't lie.
I'm like, Connie, please, can I take my students on a field trip? They work so hard. We would
Definitely
go
remember
out to
that.
eat and then go on that little boat that you could rent along the
Yeah.
Central Park.
Yep.
We used to cruise on that and talk about color and
Well,
that
that's
was
the
it.
thing. Right? A lot of these individuals, and I was one of them as well. I didn't do a lot of museums growing up, and I can't tell you how many kids you bring to the MoMA and they've never been to a museum and they don't know how to look at things, right? So this is where we get into looking at things. Like, I don't know what I
That's
like, what I
right.
don't like, right? And it's just like, you don't have to worry about that. Just look at the form, look at the shape. Does it interest you? Right. And this is where you
Yeah.
also start to think of what are your interests, right? Because a lot of these kids don't have hobbies. And I'm
Very cool.
a huge
Yes.
proponent of hobbies in your elder years. It's something to distract
Yes.
from all things hair, right? I mean, hair is great and it's our career and it's all encompassing, but I think it's just as important to have other creative outlets, whether it's music
Yeah,
or going to a museum.
that's
So
right.
true. It's so
Mm, so smart.
And it's
And it's
exact-
fun.
Yeah.
And it gets us out of hair too. Do you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
yes.
Something different for us, for our inspiration.
Yep.
Isn't that so funny? And we're like, oh, I guess we got to go to the museum. And then you're there and you're like, oh my God, why don't I do this all the time?
So true.
I know. So I guess this could be for either of you. I feel like the outline's dead at this point.
I mean, I think it's great questions, guys.
But they
Thanks,
are.
babe.
Love
Always.
it.
Honestly, because you think about the overall topic of of mentoring is just like, all right, we're just gonna kind of just rant about, our experiences, and then you think about these questions, and they're really impressive. I have to say, they are a little bit of a mind fuck in a way. It's incredible.
Yeah, they kind of like get you thinking about it, right?
A lot, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Because it's so big.
God, it really is. And there's so many ways to be a mentor, to
That's right.
be mentored, right?
That's
And what actually is efficient, what works, what makes you feel good, what actually makes you grow. Like
right.
all of those things are really important. And so,
Right.
like, for someone who's listening, who maybe wants to be a mentor, but doesn't know where to start, what should they do? What should they be looking for? Either one of you.
It's a challenge. We've tried to create these programs, and I don't know if first off, I don't know if they're necessary. You can't make somebody who is no good listener or patient or willing to further somebody's career. You can't make them a mentor, right? It just doesn't happen that way. So, you have to select few that are willing. And then, my situation is different from all of yours. We have a larger pool, so it's much easier. We still have the Cocos of the world, Alan in his styling world. And, it's such a strong group to help bring one through. So,
A lot of information for one person too.
it is. And that is a
You know,
challenge for sure.
Yeah.
but in a great way. There's
Right.
just like, whoa, like lots of information from all different directions. You're just like, whoa, you're like a sponge trying to absorb everything,
It's exhausting too.
because yeah.
Well,
I think it's trying to find the balance. And also, I know we talk about mentorships and everything too, but we have to also protect the people are mentoring.
Mm,
Where do
yes.
we draw a line, and how do we protect also ourselves and who you are as an individual, as a stylist? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I think we have to protect ourselves too, because we always tend to give a lot,
Yeah,
and that could be very exhausting
Yeah.
too.
of course.
Yeah.
I mean, finding a balance, because I truly believe in mentoring and all that, but
Yeah.
as an
I think
individual
it's
too.
kind of when you're being of service to someone. I've been thinking about this a lot lately. Like, as a mentor, for example, the things that you think like, "Oh, I'm gonna give them everything." Well, maybe they don't need everything. And also,
Mhm.
I don't need to give them everything
Yeah.
because that's not what this relationship is. What are we
Yes.
mentoring them in? What do they need to get? What can
Mm,
we have together that we both
that's
kind of
right.
move up? So it is a very interesting responsibility that you take on for yourself.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think if you're putting out the energy of mentorship, people will actually ask you to be their mentor.
Exactly. And that note too with Mark, you're in a good place where you have a lot of assistance. And if you have just even one person that is interested and want to learn under you, that's already you won something big, At least we get one person. But I think also the individual has to want that and
Yeah.
have to have the passion for that.
Yeah.
Sarah Jane and Sarah, you're in a different work environment than Nikki and I, and we're in our own different work environments. But how does that work for you? This is a new
It's a great
model.
question.
Yeah.
This is a relatively new approach to hairdressers. It's to some extent, West Coast has always had rentals, and that was a different situation than what you're in, but still, similar challenges, I'm sure.
Yeah, so we work at main space, and that's more of a suite, like a salon suite. So you share the space with another person. I would say, I think that was one of the big reasons we decided to start an education company is because we both missed mentoring
Right.
so much. It
Mm.
can be a little like, okay, you're doing 10 clients a day, and then you see the people you work with, but not really. And they're also kind of in the same space as you. So we definitely to like scratch that itch. For me personally, I do think part of the reason we started the break room was for mentorship. What do you
Mm.
think, Sarah Jane?
Oh, 100%. What was really the most challenging for me, because after Bumble, I was teaching a little bit at Ion and then at Whittemore House. They weren't super structured programs, but then the pandemic hit. It was this like
Mm.
screech of breaks for me because I was so anti, like, oh, you can't teach a haircut on a video chat. We need one-on-one, like human contact.
Right.
You need to see body position, elbow position, all the things. So I took a big step back from teaching, and I realized that's not the path for me. Like, I need to be teaching. So For me right now, it's just like Sarah said, this is the whole reason why we started this. I need to give back. And also, like Nikki said, it's just furthering the industry. Like, I don't want these young kids to have watered down education. I don't
Yeah.
want these kids learning from Instagram.
Right.
They need human contact. They need mentorship, and they need us, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
believe that too. And make it fun.
Yeah. I mean, truly, right?
Yeah. It's hair, man.
Should be fun. Absolutely.
Yes.
I mean, how did you guys, let's talk about this pandemic thing really quick. Like, how did mentorship shift for you guys during that time? Because we all went through it, right? Like, we all weren't working for a while. Probably like assistants were freaking out thinking they didn't have a job at all.
For us, I mean, we were shut down, like everybody else. So basically, I just felt like I couldn't do anything. And I didn't want to do anything to disrupt them getting paid through the government, or I don't know. I just kind of kept it quiet. I did have few clients reaching out, like, I need my color done and stuff, but I just gave them free color. I had them come in and just gave them color out the door, but that was only a few people. But yeah, we just didn't do anything because guess I was just worried that people were getting money through the government and stuff. And I didn't want, if people were doing hair and the government found out, I don't know. I just was more
Weird, right?
worried.
Yeah.
So I just kept it didn't do nothing. I just said, I'm sorry, we're shut down. And I know a lot of hairdressers went out and did people's hair and stuff, but we just kept it shut down.
What's your livelihood? You're, worried about them shutting your business down, right? And
Yeah.
it was an interesting moment for sure.
Yeah. So you didn't know nothing. So, I didn't want to make anything I did to do clients. And then, God forbid, something happened and they found out. And then I was going to
Yep.
hurt my company and my
Yeah.
employees of some sort. I don't know. Maybe not. I don't
Yeah.
know. But I just didn't want to even go there. So
Did you have assistants at the time when you guys shut down?
Yeah. Yeah, we had a full staff at that
Wow.
time.
Wow.
And literally, we were all doing clients, and it was a Friday in the afternoon. My husband came and said, the governor just shut down the whole state. And we said, can I just finish this haircut?
Yeah. Yeah.
It kind of just reminded me of when we had that power outage at
Yes.
Bumble, and we're
Oh,
all
yeah.
like,
In the
what
street.
do we do?
Yeah.
It was exactly that same awful feeling. And then after we just finished everybody and then we shut the doors and that was it. Yeah.
Yeah, so there was definitely a year delay. David and Ivan tried to keep some Zoom teaching, education going on. It didn't work very well as you would expect. But quickly after that, it was probably, I can't remember, it was a year or a year and a half. I think it was more like a year and a half to 2 years, whatever. We got back into it, and regular class situation. Everybody's all masked up, and that's when the mannequin heads came.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
And yeah, and everybody's fighting it, and everybody's complaining about it. I quickly learned the value of a mannequin head.
That's right.
Side of waste kills me. I've got all these mannequin heads in the garbage now. It's just mind blowing to think. But
Oh my God. I go from
No.
to Pixie.
yeah.
I use one model for everything.
Oh, you have to, and you have to.
Yeah, you do.
We make sure.
It is wasteful.
Yeah, we make sure the apprentices realize, listen, don't be starting off with the pixie haircut. So yeah, we're going to try something new this year as well and go through a little bit of that process that I was talking about before with long to bob, and we still do most everything long live miles, right? That is,
Yeah.
say 90% of what we do.
That's right.
Nikki, to your point before, what I love, and I know you're all going to agree, when the razor's in the hand of that individual for the first time, it's kind of nice working on a mannequin head.
You're
There's
not
so much-
lying.
You're not
wrong.
lying.
There's so much fear taken.
Yeah, I'm like, don't worry. She's not going to get hurt.
But like from a teacher's perspective, I'm at ease, and
Yes.
I can let them fuck up in a way that I would be very worried
That's
about prior.
right.
And it's not so much about cutting the model, the stylist. The stylist, yeah, they get themselves, and that's a bloodbath. But that's another story for another day. But yeah, the mannequin, they're an important part to this education process, and this is where an assistant has an incredible opportunity to young stylist, not just assistant, but say they're in an area where they don't really have an assistant program, right? I mean, we're
Right.
spoiled being in these great cities, but it's probably not that common. You go to a salon, you don't have the opportunity to be assistant. You come right from beauty school to the cutting floor. So how do you learn? 'Cause
That's right. You're not learning.
no, but
That's why we had bad names for so long like that.
Mhm.
but they now have this
Right.
opportunity, right? I will
Right.
never forget
Exactly.
the Vidal Sassoon videos. The first place I worked at, it was an apprentice program. It was about a year an apprentice. It was good. It could always have been more thorough. But we had to watch a Vidal Sassoon VHS video a month and do a head sheet, right? And so I was always so big with head sheets, right? This
That's
was ingrained in my brain. But
I could not do those.
I loved it for my brain, right? At the end of the day, you go
I
through.
admired you guys so much.
You just you map it out, you draw it out. It's like kind of refreshing going through notes or whatever. I think it was a cool
Right.
part, but they have these incredible instructional videos out there now, free on YouTube. That's a
Right.
big shift in the pandemic. First pandemic, everybody's just throwing out a bunch of shit. There's all these
Mm.
horribly produced videos, and you don't know what you're getting. And now, my God, there's some really great stuff. I find myself
Yes.
constantly going back.
There's some great hairdressers out there.
Wait, that's for real. That is
Yeah.
for real.
Yeah.
And isn't it great when you love seeing a lineage of somebody, and then it's like this person to that person, this person, oh, Bumble, right?
Yeah.
Or Vidal
Yes.
Sassoon or whatever, right? It's fun to see the growth and
Yeah.
the challenges we've dealt with. I still have incredible faith in this through mentors like us,
Yeah.
through educators, and
That's right.
there's some great stuff out there. So
Cool. Cool.
I think
Yeah,
so
I think so
too.
too.
Let's do our closing tradition.
Yes. So every guest gets a question left by the previous guest without knowing who they are.
So here is the question you were left. So both of you can answer this question. What's something you know now that would have saved you years of frustration earlier in your career?
well, you might have to edit this back because I think I just answered it.
Totally. It's fine. It's fine.
No, it was literally the thing that I was thinking about it. It already happened. And that's social media, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, like all these ways to inspire an individual. What did we have? We had a few books, right? We could go back and look at these things. You always had the Vidal Sassoon, Tony and Guy videos, whatever.
Magazines.
Magazines for
Mag-
inspiration. Yeah, these
Right.
incredible magazines. There's not many of those left.
Mm-mm.
But they have this opportunity to be light years ahead. You're going through beauty school, right? Coming into the
Right.
industry. If they just put the time in, right? Mannequin heads are everywhere.
Right.
We all use them now.
Yeah.
Take that in combination with the video and a night, outside of the salon. And my God, you can learn so many incredible things out there. And that's something
Yeah.
we didn't have. So we had to rely on the apprenticeship for the ones who wanted to further their education, that is, right?
Yeah.
Right. Right.
So true.
All right. So let's move on to the next part of it.
You guys get to leave a question for the next guest without knowing who they are.
Yeah. We don't tell you who they are, but if you have a big question that you would like them to ask, what would it be?
For me, this is going to sound very impressive, but what emerging trends or innovations do you foresee reshaping the hair industry in the next 5 years?
Ooh.
And how are you positioning your brand to adapt to these changes?
Oh, that's a good question. Good question.
Yeah, and obviously it's not going to relate to non-branded individuals. In my world, with dealing with brands all the time, I know, let's face it, we all deal with brands.
Yeah.
Mark, I like your question.
All
All right. Well,
That was probably an hour in the working, to be honest. It's terrible.
That's a really good question.
that is a really good question.
That's how this flowed anyway. So it was great.
Guys, thank you so much for coming on. I know this is not in your normal wheelhouse to be podcast guests, but this was so beautiful and such a nice moment. And yeah, I just really loved it.
Really great to reconnect also. I love seeing your faces and hearing how your lives are going.
Likewise.
Likewise. I
totally.
wish I knew more about, I want to ask you questions.
Oh, don't worry. Just listen to the podcast. We can't stop fucking talking.
No, now I will be watching your podcast now that I know. I'm so
Yes, one
excited.
more listener.
I'm really excited for you guys doing this.
That is very cool.
Knowledge
Aw.
is power, sharing is power.
That's right.
And I think we all have to connect all the
It's
time
all
so that we're all on the same page all the
Yeah.
time.
Yes, yes.
That's
And I appreciate that. Thank you for including me too.
again, it's
Of
so beautiful with
course.
all the little Bumble tentacles out there in the world, and
That's right. I know. It's so cool.
so cool.
Yeah, right. And like to give acknowledgement to Bumble at that time,
Yeah.
that the mentorship that happened there was actually really wonderful. And, we shouldn't forget
No.
that as things
And,
move along.
I think about Howard and Raymond, how important they were in our career.
Yeah.
And Raymond, may him rest in peace.
Yes.
God love 'em.
But,
Definitely.
yeah,
Definitely.
never like, wow. No.
Yeah, I was just gonna say you brought up something before, not to digress, but the Raymond and Howard just giving enough thing, was something to learn in itself, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I constantly have co-teachers, as we call them. So like I'm the constant, and then we'll have a co-teacher come in and out. And they haven't taught for a little while, and they want to give a lot, or yeah, it's a challenge, right? To hold back
Yeah.
at times when you're overwhelming them, and I lost in it myself. But Raymond and Howard, they were an incredible. We're very fortunate, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure. For sure.
Easily, learn through their own experience, right? You can't
Yep.
force
Right.
it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we all were hungry to learn.
That is true.
That was very different. We all came there hungry to learn,
Yeah.
all of us, though.
Yeah.
I think we all had a different vision when we all went there, wanting that, right?
Mm.
And that's how I think we all became successful too, because we all wanted, and that's why we all went there, for that one desire to be
Yeah.
Yeah.
the best,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Master that razor.
Education.
Yeah.
Yes. I swear to God,
Yeah.
razor turned my light
yeah.
on.
It does.
For sure.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, so
So
beautiful.
cool.
All right. Well, listeners,
Oh.
if this episode resonated with you, or if you have a friend who could benefit from this conversation, please share it, subscribe, or like,
It helps other stylists find us. This is Hair Smarter.
where we get into what hair school forgot to. Why am I waving and no one else is?
Oh, I'm waving.
Oh.